Hey, good morning, everybody. Tom Sheeran here with another real life real estate episode. We're bringing in today's expert, Lisa Dillon. Hello, Lisa, and welcome. Of course, she brings 25 plus years of experience in the mortgage industry, long time in that sector, and what we want to talk about. We're seeing good things happening in the market. I just checked, according to Mortgage News Daily, the average 30-year fix 7.13. So we're down in the upper two-thirds of 6% a couple months back, and then it trended back up. Now we're seeing it go back down slowly. So what's your prediction? We hopefully will be in the mid to low sixes within a couple of months. Is that what you're thinking?
Actually, I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that. So what happened was the market was surprised by some inflation data that had to do with services rather than goods. So the market doesn't like surprises, and it reacted. And when the market reacts, they buy bonds. It forces the price of the bond down and interest rates up. So it was a reaction. And if you watch, it's seconds and inches, it's coming down. So back to my prediction is that I think we'll be in the sixes again in the next couple of weeks. I have some data that I look at, and I don't want to put you to sleep with it, but data says we're coming down.
Yeah, that's good. And Lisa, you study it a lot, and you're seeing upward trends in buyer interest at least, and hopefully
Absolutely.
that's followed by more applications, right? Which is
Right.
always a good indication. New home sales are up uh, from January 1st to now compared to this time last year. So
Right.
everything seems to be trending in the right direction, right?
Right. Consumers are feeling good. And, there's an influx of data telling us that we shouldn't feel good. But if you watch the stock market, consumer discretionary stocks are doing quite well, which means the consumer's doing better than you might think if you listen to the onslaught of regular media versus financial media.
Yeah, and I saw a couple. Of course, the talk we hear is, well, prices are up, all this and that are up. But I also saw an interesting article that everybody's pay and wages are up as
Right.
well. So they're
Right.
all kind of moving in the same direction and following each other. And yeah, people are still
Right.
maybe a little more wiser these days.
Well, savings is up too, which means not only is the consumer healthy, but they're saving. It's not up exponentially. It's up seconds and inches. I think we're tiptoeing into a new economy that the baby boomers are changing the way we've traditionally done things. Um, to your point, though, the consumer, I, I I would love to hear people talk about a consumer's personal rate of inflation, the goods and services that I buy, that you buy, the things that we're in the market for. Um, what's my personal rate of inflation, because I'm in real estate, is not as great as it has been. My husband is in electronics. He's doing great. His market is
Mhm.
doing great. Consumer discretionary, electronics, they're doing great. So I think we are seconds and inches. I just keep saying it's slower, uh, but it's getting better. It's getting better. And a better economy, a better feeling is what drives the markets, the stock market, the bond market. So the more bonds people buy, the lower the interest rates will be.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's an interesting. I love that, the personal interest rate, and that's something that we can control too. So
Correct.
they're not fixed costs. So
Right.
sometimes it doesn't feel good to make a little cuts here and there, but
Right.
again, we've got to look at it as it's only temporary, and
Right.
Things are slowly getting better on all factors. And I mean,
Right.
values and equity is still up in Atlanta properties. And we're in a great place from that perspective compared to a lot of different areas
Right.
in the country.
And, I know a lot of companies are doing this. I'm very proud of our company. We were the first, I think. We are offering everybody who closes today at a higher rate. We're at the top end of the market, no matter what we say about how positive things are. We're close to the top of the market. And interest rates, we believe, are going to come down by the end of this year, by the end of next year. They'll be a lot better. And we're offering a lender-free refinance. We want to retain our customers. So we're offering them a lender-free refinance. Your client will have to pay for a closing attorney. They won't have the intangible tax if they come back to us. They may not have to have an appraisal. We would have to have lenders, title insurance, and an attorney fee, but you can take thousands of dollars down to between $1,000 and $2,000 max.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing. And we're going to touch on that. And it's a great time to. So the buy versus rent scenario. So
Right.
I've heard it for since the pandemic, and when the market started normalizing, what also went up was the rental rate. So
That's right.
we've got to help people in the buy scenario, and that's a big factor that people throw it out in other lenders that all you got to do is refi, buy now and you can refi, but you guys are covering it essentially. Right. And you've got to look at the pros, and the pros far outweigh the cons of buying versus. I mean, it's nice you don't have to do anything and it's covered when you rent, but that's about all maybe you get back. Your maintenance will be covered, but you're still paying for all the rest, and there's no tax advantages. You're not building any equity. Plus, Supreme Lending guarantees I said 21 day, and you said, no, we can do it in 15 or less if we have to.
We have a loan service called Supreme Rescue, which 8 days is the minimum wait, or the maximum. The minimum time we can go from disclosure to close is 8 days legally. So we do have something called Supreme Rescue, where if you're missing your closing for whatever reason, another lender drops the ball, we'll step in and get you closed. Which I'm very proud of my company. Most of us loan officers are really good at what we do. My team is the best in the business, best I've ever had. I mean, the unicorn of lenders, finally, we found it. Did you want to talk about rent versus own?
Yeah, touch on that some more, please.
Have thoughts. Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. I have not heard one person I've talked to a lot of people who are renting and thinking about buying in July when their lease is up, or, maybe next year so they can save some money. When you buy a house, when you're renting, let's go back to that. When you're renting, I've never talked to somebody who said, oh, my rent payment went down. When the lease comes due, it doesn't go down. It goes in the opposite direction. When you're in a mortgage, you can get a fixed rate mortgage where your payment stays steady. You can refinance and bring that payment down. I don't know anywhere you can rent something and the payment will go down. I'm sure it's out there. It's not common. And there are several advantages, and I'm happy to, if you want to get in touch with me, I'm happy to share those individual ones. But the big ones, I think, is the tax savings, is the fact that you're fixing something, you're building equity. Families build wealth. Most of us, the average American, builds wealth through their own personal real estate first. So instead of you renting, getting nothing except your maintenance covered and a roof over your head, when you own something, you're building equity, which is ownership. So in theory, when you take money out of your earnings and put it in your 401k, you're building towards your future, so that when you retire, you have some comfort knowing you've got some liquidity. But when you own a house in theory, the house will be paid off one day, so no more payment. Might be a long time, but it gets there faster than you think. I'm 1 year away from paying my mortgage off. Um, it comes faster than you think. You've got the equity. If you bought a house at 300,000 and 10 years later, Tom can better speak on what that house would be if it went up percentage over percentage. So it's growing just like your 401k. Your ownership is growing. You have an asset. And if you need liquidity, you can get a line of credit. There are ways you can get liquidity out of your home. You can't do that when you rent. It's a lost opportunity.
Yeah, and that's a great point. As you're building this equity, then you've got other options. I mean, you guys offer a second home financial plan, and I can talk about that too at another time. But second home versus investment, there's a lot of different tax strategies to frame it that way. So, but
Right.
that's all things you can cover. And yeah, otherwise, if you're renting, you're just paying out on everything, and
Right.
it's not finance over time. And yeah, thinking about it too, we had big spikes in the Atlanta market in equity during the pandemic, but it's still, people don't realize it's still building. We're still at 5 to 7% annual growth, more in some places. And that's adding on to that big spike already. It really hasn't downturned. So,
Right. Well, what I would like people to think about is listen to the rhetoric. Oh, times are terrible. Or, oh, real estate's so expensive. It just keeps going up. Right. It keeps going up. So buy something you can afford, get into the right loan program, and you're building equity so that when you do want to buy your next house, you've built a good chunk of equity, which is yours when you sell your house, everything you've built into it, and it's gone up, per your point, Tom, 3 to 5% per year, or the statistics on that better than I do. You have that money to put down on the next residence or put some down and fix the house up. I mean, you just have a lot of options. Yeah, prices are getting higher than what we're used to. So is your income, and your home will be growing too. You'll take advantage of that growth in Atlanta as well.
yeah, that's a great point. And again, that's how we've all done it. Any homeowner, you got your starter home, and then that takes you
Right.
to your next one. And if there's a next one after that, or if the family grows, and that's the way it goes. But you're building equity all
Right.
along the line. So,
Right.
well, good stuff, Lisa. Anything you want to add before we wrap it up? And
Just listen to the noise out there, but also talk to the experts. Talk to somebody like you, Tom, who has got their finger on the data, because there's a lot of information. Headlines are crazy, plunging market or soaring interest rates. They're not soaring. They've moved up, but now we're on the way back down. Those kinds of things, I think, create an impression. So I would just like for people to call somebody like you, Tom, or somebody like me who has the information and can give you some really good sound advice.
yeah, perfect. Well, we sure appreciate it, Lisa. She's Lisa Dillon with Supreme Lending. She knows her stuff, and we're here to help. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being here, and we'll talk soon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.